Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Ecuador Insider Podcast. I'm Jesse Bayer, joined as always by my business partner, Darnell Dunn. We also have a great guest today who we will introduce for you in a moment. We just had about 30 minutes of hilarity trying to get the sound check here at the recording studio set up, but apparently we are good, minimal feedback, and we are ready to go. So before, we have we're really in an interesting time here in Ecuador. We're going to get into a lot of stuff, mainly election politics, polls, scandals. So we'll talk a little bit immigration stuff. We have to correct some of the things that we were talking about last week. And then next week, we're going to have an attorney on as well who's going to help us sort out the immigration law. And we'll get into all that. So excited to be here with you. Today is Friday, February 10th. I'm recording here in Loja. Darnell's joining us from Cuenca, and our guest is here with me as well. Before we get into the show, I just want to introduce us. We are Abundant Living Ecuador, a real estate and relocation services firm here in southern Ecuador. We also do a bunch of other stuff, so check out our website at abecuador.com. You can hit us up on our toll-free line from the U.S. and Canada, which is 888-999-0948. Of course, email info@abecuador.com. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. We're pretty much everywhere. So, anyways, before I introduce or we get into the show, let me just introduce our guest. So we're joined today by Ulises Acosta, and I'm really excited to have him. We actually hired Ulises recently to head up our client services division at the company. And he brings a really cool perspective, I think, to the show and also to the company. He speaks English, of course, since the show is in English, but he's a bilingual Lojano, originally from Loja, so an Ecuadorian, and he's in his 40s, so he's also can give us a little bit of perspective as to what's happened in Ecuador, going back into the early 2000s and into the 90s, and even a little bit before that as well. But his background is really in everything that we're trying to do for our clients. So he's got a lot of experience in hospitality, in tourism. He's done tours. He's done property management. His reputation is exceptional. Somebody I've known for a little while here in Loja. So we're really, really excited to add him to the team and to also bring you his perspective here today as a experienced bilingual and experienced Lojano who can also talk really about all issues important to expats. So Ulises, welcome. Darnell, thanks for being here as well. How you guys doing?
Great. Darnell, Jesse, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be part of your team, and thank you for the nice introduction you did about me. I am here to help you. I'm here to help everybody interested in Loja and to know more about Ecuador and what is happening now, what happens, and let's try to guess what can happen in the future.
There we go. Well, when you can know what happens in the future, let me know. We'll go right to the casino. Darnell, everything good? How's Cuenca?
Yeah, things are great. The sun is shining. Interested to chat a little bit more with Ulises about the election, some of the current events going on in Ecuador, new immigration policy, and anything else you guys want to touch on today.
All right, very good. So before we jump into the election and everything you just mentioned, we have the two tours coming up, the two group tours. We can do an individual tour at any time. The group tours are March 13th and April 17th, the next two start dates. You can sign up right on the website. Ulises plays a big part in that, so you'll be working with him. He's super excited. He's very, very high energy, sort of happy guy. So you'll have a great time with him, talking shop and seeing the country. And Darnell and myself are also very involved in that as well. So you'll get kind of the full array. I won't get into the whole sort of promotional spiel for the tour this time. We did it last week, but trust me, you'll love it. Sign up. So that being said, I guess we should start really with the election. So we've got an election on the 19th of this month, very likely a runoff on April 2nd after that. It's been an interesting time. I think I set it up last week, so I'll try to do it much more briefly this week. But there's a candidate who was the former vice president of the current president of Ecuador. His name is Lenin Moreno. So he's running to sort of, maintain the status quo. And then there's as many as
revolution, baby.
Civil, right? And then there's it looks like two, and you could maybe argue three serious contenders to move the country in a bit of a different direction, and that's Lasso and Vittieri. Is that how I say your name?
Vittieri.
Vittieri, yeah. And then Paco Moncayo, but he's kind of a distant fourth in that conversation. And the way the elections work here is unless one candidate has either 50% of the vote or leads by 10 points in the polls and has 40% of the vote, there's a runoff. So very likely headed for a runoff. We just had a new round of polling that came out, and some of it came out post these latest scandals that involves the president's party and specifically the vice president who's on the ticket for Moreno, who's also the vice president of Rafael Correa. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the scandals. That's sort of the setup. You kind of have, really the traditional, I suppose, although I hate saying this because I don't find it particularly true, but you kind of have the traditional left versus right sort of ideology in this election. Moncayo as well as Moreno are more from the left, and then you've got Cynthia Viteri, as well as Guillermo Lasso, more from the right. Amongst the serious candidates, there's others, but they're polling at practically zero. So that's sort of the setup. A lot is on the line as far as taxes, as far as investment, as far as really all issues here. And again, I won't recap everything we recapped last week. Go back and listen to episode 26, and you can hear a little more about sort of the setup. But that's where we are, and so. I think I think we'll turn it over to you, Ulises, for a minute, just to give your thoughts on this election and what you think's going to happen, and maybe what you'd like to see happen, and we can go from there.
So, the first round to elect president is, as you say, from this coming Sunday to the next Sunday. So for sure there will be a ballotage.
Vote?
The second
a second round. Yeah, a runoff. Sorry. Yeah.
A runoff. So it depends who you believe, because right now, until yesterday, everybody can consult and publish polls. There was one poll giving to Guillermo Lasso the first position, and Lenin Moreno the second position. But everybody says, okay, this is a fake, because one of the more serious oil companies here in Ecuador just yesterday released a new poll, and Lenin Moreno is first, and Guillermo Lasso is very near to him. Mm-hmm. So for sure there will be a second round in April. A
runoff.
Mm-hmm. A runoff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So the runoff is going to be a kind of, we say, everybody against Lenin Moreno, because Lenin Moreno is representing the current government, and the current government have very serious accusations of corruption, money disappear, stealing money, doing improper contracts, inflated contracts in an economical way. Some money disappear in some public works that never been done. And right now, one of the guys who was part of this government almost from the beginning is the guy who is shooting videos every day saying who is involved into these corruption cases.
Okay. We can jump into that. So just to recap, the polls are tightening, very likely a second runoff, and then you're saying that you think in the second round very likely Moreno would lose because the opposition vote would coalesce around whoever the candidate is that's opposing him. I agree with you. And then the corruption and the scandals. So let's get into that. Can you sort of summarize for people first the scandal with Obradech, or however you say that?
Oh yeah,
and then we'll get into some of the others though.
Actually, we are having two big scandals here in Ecuador. One is the Petro Ecuador, the oil company who manages all the oil in Ecuador, exportation, importation of gas or anything related. And the other scandal is this scandal that is causing a big headache in the whole Latin America, in South America, the Brazilian company Odebrecht is one of the biggest construction companies in the world. So Odebrecht, in order to have all the contracts in all the governments, the accusation is this. They used the former president of Brazil, Ignacio Lula da Silva, as a lobbyist to tie the contracts in Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, everything. So, and in order to have that, they split money into everybody.
Bribes.
Bribes, yeah. Bribes, exactly bribes. For example, one of the biggest cases everybody is now complaining here in Ecuador is when there was the idea to build a new oil refinery in the Manabí province, the Refinería del Pacífico. So the government bought the land, they did the early jobs, flattering the lot, doing some structure or something, and there is nothing there, just a flat lot, and the government spent $1,200 million. It's $1 billion in the States. And the money just disappeared, and there is nothing in that lot. And part of the contractor to do this was Odebrecht company. So the assumption is Odebrecht just took the money and ran, but before that, they give some good bribes to everybody. The second scandal is the repotentiation of the current oil refinery we have in Esmeraldas province in Ecuador.
Hold on, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes. Before you get into that, so the first scandal, does that involve Jorge Glass as well?
Exactly.
Okay, so just saying that. So Jorge Glass is Lenin Moreno's vice president on the ticket, and he's also Correa's vice president.
Exactly.
So and he's
current vice president.
What's that?
He's the current vice president.
Current vice president. Yeah.
Because Lenin Moreno was Correa's first vice president. Then he went to go be an ambassador to the UN, like special envoy of disability issues or something like that. Then Jorge Glass took over. Now Glass ticket running for vice president again on Lenin Moreno's ticket.
Right. And so during this scandal, Jorge Glass was in what role? The first scandal, the one you just talked about.
The first scandal, Lenin Moreno was the vice president, and Jorge Glass was in charge of the chief of the strategic sectors of Ecuador. That involves mining, oil, defense, so the telecommunications, and I can't remember the other one, but Jorge Glass was the head of the strategic sectors. So everything related with this, for example, telecommunications and oil, Jorge Glass had to have knowledge about everything. What to do, how to do, who is going to be hired, how much they will pay, and everything. Okay. So when Jorge Glass was in this position, well, in the movement between that position and becoming vice president of Rafael Correa, he was in charge of the contract for the repotentiation of the oil refinery in Esmeraldas. The first budget to repotentiate the refinery.
What is that? That's like refurbish? Like
refurbish, yes.
Renew or renovate, maybe?
Renovate some parts, rebuild some parts. The first budget was $200 million, and it was approved. And then came the extras, and now the refinery looks pretty much the same, and they spent $1,000 million.
$1 billion, yeah.
So
he was overseeing the part of the government that oversaw this particular project.
Exactly. And when this guy who is right now in Miami shooting the videos against the government, this guy Carlos Pareja.
Well, hold on. No, nobody is going to be aware of that. So let's first explain to them what's happening. So
Jorge Glass was the guy who hired everybody to work in that. He signed the nombramientos. How you say when you become a member of the government, you have your how you say when you sign? Well, Jorge Glass hired the people, and he was overseeing everything. So right now the government is just saying, well, Rafael Correa in every Saturday when he have this sabatina, this speech
he does a TV show every Saturday.
It's a TV show 3 hours per day. So the last Saturday, he, as we say in Spanish, he put his hands on fire for Jorge Glass, saying he is a total honest man, and he will never take any cent from the national budget.
He didn't rob at anything, yeah. Okay, and so now go ahead and so what's happening now with the former state employee who's in Miami who's making the videos?
Yeah, this guy was in charge of the national company Petro Ecuador. He was one of the big heads in that company. So one day in April the last year, when all these Panama Papers scandals started all over the world, the name of this guy, Carlos Pareja Yanuselli, was mentioned in some offshore accounts in Panama. And then it started as kind of a scandal, some investigation and everything. But because Correa is controlling everything in Ecuador, because this is the truth, Correa is controlling the justice, the media, everything, the scandal was less and less. Everybody was looking to the other side and everything.
It was covered up a little bit.
Exactly. But in September 26, now the day is becoming a very important date. In September 26, according to Carlos Pareja, the vice president, Jorge Glass, and the general attorney of Ecuador called Carlos Pareja saying, you have to leave the country because everything is pointing you as you are the main head of this corruption. It's better if you leave the country for a while, meanwhile we try to clean everything up. So Carlos Pareja just flew out of the country to Miami, and then the big scandal started, saying that Carlos Pareja Yanuselli was the only guy who did everything, and nobody else know about everything. And Carlos Pareja was the guy who hires everybody, who take the money, who did the tax to the big contractors in order to inflate the prices and everything. And now Carlos Pareja is protecting himself from Miami, giving some kind of video pills every day, saying, Jorge Glass, one of the videos is very clear. Jorge Glass knew everything. So the fiscal of the nation, the general attorney of the nation, have to investigate Jorge Glass.
And sorry, go ahead.
But nothing is happening.
And what was the thing with the lie detector test? He took like a lie detector test to answer one of those questions?
Oh yeah, this guy in Miami hired one of the best lie detector, 30, 40 years of history doing these testings. And he addressed some questions written by himself, but the questions was done by this guy with the lie detector. This guy makes some questions to Carlos Pareja, for example. Did you took some money in bribes? And he said no. And now he's claiming that the Fiscal de la Nación, the General Attorney of the Nation, have to go to the same lie detector and address some questions. For example, one of the questions is, Mr. General Attorney of the Nation, did you receive a bag full of bills in the Swiss hotel in Quito? Yes or no?
Right. Oh, yeah, right. I saw that video.
So the General Attorney just addressed yesterday a press, media communication, a media letter saying just no. And the last video of Cayapa, now the nickname of this guy is Capaya. Carlos Pareja Yanuselli just showed another video yesterday night, calling to the Contralor de la Nación. The Contralor de la Nación is like who controls how the money is spent, saying that this guy in his apartment every time receive bags of money. And he's asking, everybody have to go to the lie detector and address this question. Was you receiving bags of money in the Swiss hotel in Quito, yes or no? And yesterday, Carlos Pareja just gave more names or more people. For example, he mentioned some lady name. Let's say Lolita. Lolita, is your voice we can listen in some audio is running around in WhatsApp saying that you are receiving some little things? Yes or no? So now the scandal is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. The political opposition is basing all the last days of campaign in this. And everybody, the 2 or 3 independent mass media we have right now here in Ecuador, are asking Lenin Moreno for declarations, saying, Lenin Moreno, please, Mr. Lenin Moreno, can you reply this question? Can you address these questions? Why you not separate Jorge Glass until everything passes or something? But Lenin Moreno is just saying anything. He's not saying anything about that.
Wow, we got a juicy South American political scandal here.
Yeah, very juicy. Really.
And I should mention too, I have a couple of polls in front of me that came out recently. Gallup has Moreno at 32%, Lasso at 21%, Viteri at 14%, and Moncayo at 8%. Then there's another poll here that's got similar 35 to 16 to 14 to 7. So again, it looks like it's heading for a runoff, and I would imagine these numbers will continue to drop as they have been for Moreno. And, some of these may be a little skewed as well.
Just in the last week, Lenin Moreno lost 2 points in the polls.
Yeah.
And if you check who is in the second place and the third place, the people who vote for Guillermo Lasso and Cynthia Viteri, they will never vote for Lenin Moreno in a second, in a runoff.
Moncayo's people may, some, right?
Moncayo's people maybe, but no. The people, we are calling the political guys who do some political communication here in Ecuador, they use the words, the hard vote. So you are seeing right now the hard vote of everybody. Maybe the indecisos, the people who don't know who to vote.
You mean undecided?
Maybe they are undecided. Thank you. They are going to decide. Maybe Guillermo Lasso will be the first one in the first round, the next 2019. 2019. Maybe all the people who didn't know who to vote, maybe they will vote for Lenin Moreno, and Lenin Moreno will win the presidency in the first round. So who knows? We have to wait until the 19th.
Yeah. Darnell, your thoughts?
I think, it seems to me as though the corruption scandal is just, I don't think that there's a way that you can have 10 years of the same government, 3 terms, where, they went through half a term and then rewrote the Constitution, that started another term and then, a subsequent third term with this corruption scandal can really survive that, especially when the heir apparent and basically the candidate that's representing the status quo can, win through all of that, especially since the people who are polling 2 and 3 are, representing the opposition. So it seems to me in a runoff scenario that whoever is leading, whether it's Viteri or Lasso, trailing, second, that the person who's supporting whoever finishes third in that isn't going to just go to the person who's finishing second and get them over the top. Yeah. That just seems to me to be the base case scenario.
Agreed. That sort of seems the consensus. It's funny, Alsu just mentioned for people that, there isn't a super strong opposition candidate. Guillermo Lasso, who's considered the front runner as the opposition, is a former banker. That's sort of a dirty word here. And he's also, there's a lot of accusations around him having played a part in the dollarization that happened where, he was running a bank at that time. So a lot of people, true or not, a lot of people, say that, he basically, was involved in that in a less than above board way. So even somebody with that sort of political baggage is almost likely to win the presidency, I would say, in a runoff, is kind of speaks to just how unpopular this current government is, and also the scandal.
And also, remember, it's very interesting, the Lenin Moreno, in the polls running in the last November, Lenin Moreno had the 45% of acceptation. So the government was very happy to support. The government was very happy thinking that there will be only one runoff. So they will won in the first runoff and no second runoff. And
first round and no runoff,
So in November, December, January, February, in 3 months, he lost almost 12% of acceptation.
Support, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Then let's get your opinion, and then Darnell, you can certainly chime in as well. Let's get your opinion on what's at stake here. So, should Moreno win versus should Lasso, for example, win what's at stake for Ecuador? What are your thoughts on sort of where the country's at and how what will be affected and how that will change based on who wins this election?
Well, right now we are into these corruption cases because it's a major, big corruption cases. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But 2 or 3 years ago, they started some little corruption cases that was never investigated. So right now, the people is little by little getting tired of the current government. So we're talking about the big corruption cases, but there was some small corruption cases that are sleeping in the courts because the president controls the justice. Mm-hmm. It's sad but true, but if the president in one of these shows in the Saturday says, okay, arrest that guy, the police just arrest that guy. Cases, I know personally, for example, cases that are sleeping in the court of justice for some lawsuits, something, 3 years, 4 years. And when the president orders some case to be solved in the week, it takes 3 weeks. It takes 3 days. Mm-hmm. The investigation, the sentence, and you have to pay. Just recently, one of the most prosecuted journalists here in Ecuador by the government had to pay $47,000 as a fee because the president was insulted in one of his investigations. So, can you imagine how the international journalist movements are about these cases? And also, after 10 years of the same government, we need some refreshing in our institutions. There are so many people, well, the truth is this. We know so many people that when they start working with the government 6, 7, 8 years ago, they was poor. And right now they have brand new houses, brand new cars, they travel to Europe every year. So, okay, the salary you receive when you are part of the government is pretty good. But not so good to do the things they are doing right now. And also, the pools companies, they are talking about in Spanish it's voto vergonzante.
Like a shamed vote, I guess?
Because if someone, for example, you're walking in the street and someone approaches you saying, who are you going to vote? You say Moreno because you don't want to give more explanations. But all these people is the hidden vote against Moreno. And these things happens, for example, in Colombia with the peace process. Uh-huh. Everybody was saying they will vote for the peace process, yes, and at the end, the no wins. The same thing happens in Argentina. Everybody says that Cristina Kirchner will win, and no, he lost the elections. Mm-hmm.
Even so maybe that may have happened with Trump a little bit, I think, as well.
Exactly. Some political specialist says that it happens also in the States. Mm-hmm. Everybody was saying I wasn't going to vote for Hillary because they were ashamed to recognize they will vote for Trump. And some people is speculating right now that even in this February 19, there will be a surprise, and not be surprised if Moreno no go to the runoff. Yeah,
I've been saying that to Darnell recently as well. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Lasso ended up in first after the first round.
Or even if Lasso go first and Lenin go second, believe me,
it's over.
Our president will be crazy until the runoff.
Oh, Correa, yeah.
Yeah, Correa will be crazy.
So, Darnell, let me know if you want to chime in on that before I ask Ulises about, what happens if to the country if Moreno wins in Lasso.
Yeah, I would like to chime in on that, Jesse. First thing I'd like to point out is just the overall trend that you're seeing in Latin America moving away from more socialist regimes to more market-oriented regimes, for lack of a better term. You've seen that in Argentina with the center-right candidate coming into power. Yep. You've seen that happen. You've seen people react to corruption in Brazil by impeaching their president. Whose predecessor in Brazil was very much tied into this whole Odebrecht corruption scandal. And then you've had a similar situation happen in Peru, yep. All in the last year and a half or so. So, that's kind of the backdrop that we're seeing in Latin America at this point in time. And now to zero in on Ecuador, it seems to me that the big message that's resonating that, Guillermo Lasso has really done a great job of doing from my perspective, seeing some of the debates. He's kind of the lightning rod for the opposition. And so you see a lot of candidates, particularly the ones that are running on that side of the fence, really attacking him. And, his message is just, he's done a good job of keeping his message clear, which is just that, not really leading with corruption per se, that's kind of a cloud over the whole debate, but really he's focused on taxes, on creating jobs, and just eliminating a lot of the red tape that makes it very difficult to operate here in Ecuador. And I think that's really resonating with people. I think people really feel that. I think people really, from my perspective, are fed up with and feel like they're being taxed excessively, in that the government is really, they came in with the promise of, getting rid of the politics of always and allowing, sort of the upper class Ecuadorian to run both the economy and politics. But I think what they've come to see after 10 years is that it's not that, now you have more of an, egalitarian society. No, you just have a situation of musical chairs where now the people who were the wealthy families who had controlled Ecuador, that power is just shifted to the government. And I don't think people really like the results of that. And so I think, Lasso is doing a good job of kind of stirring up that sentiment, and then also talking very clearly about what he's going to do to improve the economy. And I think personally that if he happens to win, the changes in tax policy would really be really facilitate not only entrepreneurship, but also foreign direct investment here, which is see that rise, which has been really, really low compared to other countries in the region. And is actually, I saw an article a couple years ago that the foreign direct investment that Ecuador receives is less than Haiti, which is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So I think that's a striking point that I think people are really starting to really feel and realize.
Exceptionally well said. Ulises, your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, one of the main proposals in the campaign coming from Lasso and Viteri is to reduce taxes. In some cases, disappear some taxes we have right now, and try to find a way to be more open to the foreign investment. And as you say, yes, for example, I can remember something like that about investments in Latin America, for example. It's very easy. Colombia, the last year, received, for example, $2,000 million in investments. In Ecuador received...
That's $2 billion, correct?
$2 billion,
yep.
Yes. And Ecuador just received $200 million. Right. And less every time. And everybody blames that, for example, we have this crazy tax when you produce money here in Ecuador and you want to take the money out of the country, you have to pay 5%.
Correct.
So just that part is killing the investments in Ecuador.
Yep.
So part of the offers of Guillermo Lasso and Cintia Viteri is, for example, disappear that tax. So the people will bring the money with more confidence to Ecuador. Reduce the IVA is the tax.
The value-added tax, yeah.
Yes, VAT. Reduce that. One interesting proposal from one of the candidates, but he's in the last positions, is, for example, to create the 3 days of IVA tax-free in Ecuador. So everything you buy is free of IVA. Also, remember that...
How about 365 days free of IVA? That would suit me just fine. Yes, sorry, continue.
But you check the political background of the offers Rafael Correa did 10 years ago. We had the IVA in 12%. He offers to reduce the IVA to 10%. Now we are paying just in IVA 14%. It's a lot of money. Also, with Lenin Moreno, the thing will be almost the same. Even the people who is in the political positions, in government positions or something, maybe will be the same. And the guessing we are having right now here is, if Lenin Moreno wins, he's going to protect and cover the backs of everybody involved in any scandal, corruption, big scandals or small scandals. The perception with Lenin Moreno and Cintia Viteri is because behind them there are the people who export fruits, who export fish, shrimps, bananas, or everything. So they will be more open to receive investment and to create more market to the Ecuadorian products around the world.
Yeah. Ulises, one other point that I wanted to touch on just to get your perspective about being an Ecuadorian is one of the things I think really contributed to people turning against the current government, which was one of Latin America's most popular just a couple of years ago, has been the changes that they proposed to the estate tax law, and it just seems to me being herencia, right? So it just seems to me as an outsider looking in to be something that really struck a chord with Ecuadorians. It seems to me as though it's very important for people to, provide for the next generation and to give their children and grandchildren something that, some kind of asset, property, land, money that they can use to, start their life. And it seems to me as, when they started to talk about, tax rates as high as 75 on things that people had already paid for, that really was something that really made the government less popular. Could you talk a little bit about that as your perspective, being somebody who's, was born and raised in Ecuador?
Well, first, Guillermo Lasso and Cintia Viteri, one of the campaign promises is to wipe out the herencia tax. So, because they say, as you say, if I am doing something, I want to pass that thing to my kids, to my children. I don't want to share my profits with the government, and not in this case half of your profit in your property or something you did in your whole life. With Lenin Moreno, it's almost, the things will be the same. So the herencia tax, the inheritance tax will be there, and nothing will change in taxes. So this is another point that is bringing more and more votes to Guillermo Lasso. He's saying that we have to remove this crazy tax because this is going to kill the investment. This is going to kill any dream you have or your parents have right now to pass to the next generation in properties or something. Because, well, my perception is this. I'm not going to vote for Lenin Moreno. I'm not going to vote for Guillermo Lasso or Cintia Viteri because of my political points of view. I am going to vote for Paco Moncayo. But in the runoff, I will be for the one who ran against Lenin Moreno.
Well, that's great, Ulises. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there's certainly, we could certainly talk politics all day, but I think we've covered at least the basics for people of sort of what's going on here. Let's jump into the new immigration law. So we did a show last week. Some of the information that we had been provided to us, that we had been published on the law, I think we got a little bit of it wrong, and I think the reason we got a little bit of it wrong is because it's really just we mentioned this last week. That's why we tried to stay very broad in our presentation. But the rules are just not written yet, and nobody seems to know when they'll be written. We've gotten even from inside the government. There's just no clarity yet on that law. So let's give a little. We'll turn it over to Ulises. We'll give a little bit of a broad outline, and then basically, though, we're just in a holding pattern here until the actual rules are written, and at which point we'll be able to have a good breakdown of the new law. So, Ulises, can you just help our listeners with what your understanding is? And we've read the law. Ulises has read the law as well. But again, the rules for how it will be implemented are not written, so it's very unclear how things are going to work. But can you just give your sort of thoughts on broad stroke what your understanding is of the new immigration law?
Well, the big change in the immigration law is now you come here as a tourist, you will receive your first tourist visa for 180 days instead of the 90 days you can have right now. The 180 days is just approved by the president, but the immigration authorities have to elaborate the why we say the reglamento,
The rules.
The rules. So I don't think it's going to be complicated or nothing else. It's going, maybe they will charge you a little fee for that, and then you will have 6 months to explore Ecuador, to live here, or you can leave the country for 3 months and then returns, or something like that. Also, if your 180 days expire, you can apply for 90 days extension. Right now, you are receiving 90 days as a tourist visa, and then you can apply for 90 days of extension. So when the rules will be published and applies in every immigration point in Ecuador, you will have easily 6 months to stay in, no, 9 months to stay in Ecuador.
With the extension, you're saying?
With the extension. So this is the major change. Another interesting change is the government created this special residency visa for 2 years. But the first idea is they will give you 2 years in a row to stay in Ecuador. But also we have to wait for the regulations, for the law. The rules, thank you, for which conditions who wants this special 2 years visa have to apply.
The parameters, yep.
Yeah, exactly. These are kind of parameters, yes. So I think this will come out after Carnival or at the end of March or something. If we know the parameters before that, we will let you know.
Yeah, great. I mean, I have a list here, and again, I can't vouch 100% for the accuracy of this. This was posted in Gringos Abroad by an attorney. I believe it to be correct, but again, they're waiting on the details as we are. The 2-year visa that Ulises just mentioned, it says here that the categories are as follows: work, number 1; 2, legal income generated from investments in countries other than Ecuador; 3, retirement for investor; 5, scientist, investigator, academic; 6, athlete, artist, or cultural manager; 7, religious or religious volunteer; 8, volunteer; 9, student of basic, secondary, undergraduate, or graduate education and professional internships or professionals; 10, technical, professional, technologist, or artisan; 11, resident by agreement 1, I'm not sure what that is, maybe that's the work visa; 12, dependents of person holding a migratory category visa. So according to this, there's 12 new types of 2-year temporary visa. I think we covered some of this last week as far as the 6 months. That's great. People can, spend half a year here without worrying about it if they'd like. That's obviously great news. It sounds like, Ulises, does it sound like from your understanding that the current visas, for example, the pensioner's visa, the investment visa, the professional visa, does it sound like those are basically going to stay the same?
Yeah, they are going to stay. They are going to be the same conditions, the same everything. Mm-hmm. Actually, for example, in the investment visa, the $25,000 will be untouchable. Mm-hmm. The pensioner visa will be the same. You have to justify how much money you are receiving as a pensioner. Mm-hmm. Well, the work visa, actually, it exists before. But you have to fill the documents they need. For example, you say, I want the working visa in Ecuador, you have to have a contract to work in Ecuador. Right. It's not you are going to find a job in Ecuador. No, you have to have the job in Ecuador, the contract recognized, and everything is it's not a difficult process, but it takes time. But when you have your contract, you have your visa.
Yeah. And then the other point, and again, I'm getting this information from an attorney who published an article. We've asked lots of people for this. It is not super clear yet, but according to this same article, and we're going to have actually the attorney who wrote this article on next week to discuss this law, and hopefully we can get a little more clarity then. But again, until the rules are written, we will not have complete clarity. According to this article as well, they have increased the amount of days you can be outside of the country during the first 2 years of your permanent residency visa. That's also great news because previously you had to be in the country 9 months a year for the first 2 years before you could travel more freely. It sounds like that's been changed to 6 months. So now if you, for the first 2 years, according to this article again, you can be out of the country for 6 months in year 1, 6 months in year 2, without jeopardizing your visa. So that's also great news for folks who maybe are transitioning, maybe are still working some, or just want to spend winters here but would like to get the visa process started, etc.
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth, Jesse. I mean, how many people have we had conversations with who were very much decided on buying property in Ecuador, but decided to hold off because, of their situation. They wanted to kind of ease into the transition of moving to Ecuador, maybe live here for 6 to 9 months, but, not be tied to having to stay for more than 6 months out of the year. So I think that on balance is really the best change to the new immigration law.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, I think we've done it for the most part. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we get out of here?
Nope, nothing for me. Just thank you again. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Hope to be here again soon.
Darnell?
Yeah, I mean, I would just remind people again about the upcoming real estate tour. The 2 group tours coming up on the 13th and the 17th the 13th of March and the 17th of April. I think it's just a great way to facilitate the process of getting more educated about expat life in Ecuador, what real estate options are available to you, and also just get a chance to see a beautiful country.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one thing,
go ahead.
Just to everybody who's listening us, remember, any question, not be afraid of write to Jesse, Darnell, to me. Any question you have, if you want to know just how is the weather today in Loja and Cuenca and Guayaquil, just write us saying sometimes the weather information from Ecuador is not accurate. Yeah, it's amazing. So people says, I read in Loja is always spring. No, today we're in winter, we're not in spring. So any question you have, nothing your questions are silly or not deserve to be done. No, any question, just send us a mail.
I before we leave, I have to just jump on that for a second.
Hopefully, okay. I might have to jump on it too, depending.
So I'm talking to a guy on the phone yesterday, and he says, or a couple days ago, he says, I'm looking. How's the weather in Loja today? I say it's beautiful. It's a beautiful sunny day today. Because I was sort of giving him the rundown of the Loja weather and the Cuenca weather, and it's a misnomer. There's a lot of literature out there written about both Cuenca and Loja that make it sound warmer and less rainy than they actually are. There are seasons in Ecuador, and we've covered this many times, and we'll probably chat about it again. I won't recap it now, but I'm on the phone with the guy, and he says, "Really?" He says, "I'm looking here on the weather, and it says it's rain." And I said, yeah, and I was like, yeah, my mom tells me that all the time. She says every time she looks at Loja, it says it's raining. And I don't know exactly why that is, but my theory on it is that because there's so many microclimates and because we're so close to Podocarpus, there's always rain somewhere within, 10, 15 miles. But that doesn't mean it's raining at all. It could be, totally bright blue, sunny day. But I'm sure on the radar, there's rain clouds, somewhere in the area. So I would imagine they just put rain. But that's a great point, Ulises, and certainly it hurts our business. Actually, everybody thinks it rains here every day when they look on the app on their phone or on weather.com or whatever. Go ahead, Darnell.
No, you took you took my point, so I don't have anything else to add to that.
Okay. So Darnell, you want to send us out of here?
Yeah, sure thing. So just to reiterate, thanks again, Ulises, for joining us, and thank you for joining us. We're excited to add you to the team. Secondly, I just want to encourage everybody again, as Ulises said, to contact us with any questions or comments that you may have in the process of considering Ecuador as a retirement or investment destination. If you'd like to reach us via email, you can do so at info@abecuador.com. That's A as in apple, B as in boy, Ecuador.com. You can also reach us toll free at 888-999-0948 or visit our website at www.abecuador.com. Thanks again for joining us this week, and tune in next week to hear a little bit more on the new immigration law.